everybody, and welcome back to the show. It is January 5th, 2021. Second show of the new year. Pretty excited, David. Big weekend ahead of us. Big weekend. I got a Friday and a Saturday event. Of course, we have Burroughs and Taylor headlining a card on Saturday, the 9th. But announced a little bit more recently is Friday, January 8th. Spartan Combat's putting on a big event, and we got several different organizations involved. That will be headlined by Cal Dake versus Dake-McFadden, who we're excited to bring on the show right now. If we're ready, let's do it, guys. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, you bet. So obviously you guys are going to be headlining this main event, and I guess I just want to start with you, David. And you've been in the college scene for quite a while, but you moved to the Penn RTC. You're officially you're a professional athlete, and I guess how are things different, and what do you like more about the structure of training and being a part of an RTC full time rather than college practice and that kind of probably more regimented schedule?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different than college. College you're kind of, you have other stresses with school, just outside stuff. This is my full-time job. I'm trying to reach the top, and it's just been awesome just to kind of get in with showing these college guys, how it's done the right way, and obviously just focusing full time on competing. Obviously we do other things outside of the room, like with beat the streets and stuff, but it's nice to come home from practice and just throw on a show or throw on a movie and not really have to worry about any essays or homework assignments. And it's just been a great transition, and just the guys we have in our room, college and senior level athletes, it's a blessing.
Sure. And Kyle, you don't have to worry about assignments and essays, but you don't get to come home and put your feet up, right? You got a couple little ones running around. I guess that's just a note, but as far as the training, like, are you back in the Cornell room? Are you still in the garage? Are you guys floating around in different places? Kind of what's the setup been like for you?
So we're not in Cornell yet. They still aren't allowing us on campus, which is kind of unfortunate, especially since we just got a pretty awesome upgrade to the Freeman Wrestling Center. We have our own private room for Spartan Combat RTC, brand new weight room, brand new hot cold plunge, new locker room, new sauna, new everything. So it kind of stinks that we're not allowed there. I do my cross training in my garage still, which is pretty convenient because I can just get out there and get what I need done and then come back inside and help Megan with the girls. And then with practice, we usually leave or have practice around 3 o'clock, and it's only like a 5-minute drive, so it's a little bit closer than when we were at Freeman, but it's still not the same. I still miss that place a lot.
Sure, especially with the new facilities, I'm sure. This is for both of you, and we'll start with David. You've done some competing on some of these other cards since this weird time, summer, fall, whatever you want to call it. How important is it to get matches, and whether it's consistent or not, be weighing in and feeling the nerves and butterflies and everything else that goes around competing?
Yeah, it's super important. I think if you're not competing, you're not sharpening your skills and you're not staying ready. I mean, it's much different just coming into the room and practicing if you have nothing in front of you. So to just be on these cards, and obviously, like, they're not. Sometimes you get a call the week before, right? Where you got to cut weight, and it's unideal. So I think, my thing is why you see a lot of these Penn wrestlers and Drexel wrestlers on cards, Penn RTC on cards, is, we're staying ready all year round. The Olympic trials are 3 months away or whatever, and yeah, so we're in there day in and day out, and like I said, we're just staying ready. I mean, I got a call, 2 weeks ago to wrestle Kyle, and obviously it's an opportunity that, presented itself, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take it. Let's agree on a weight and kind of get the ball rolling. But that's just a testament to our room, and that we're ready. I mean, you saw some of the Penn guys. We had a little COVID outbreak, I think, with Drexel, so. We had six Penn wrestlers step up on a 24-hour notice and go out and compete on the Rutgers card. So that's just a testament to our coaching staff and our college guys and stuff.
Sure. Kyle, similar question to you. Like, I don't believe you've competed since July 25th, and I don't, off the top of my head, remember the last time you competed before that. Is it weird having this long layoff? And I know you're competing in this and then going over to Henry DeGlane, I think. Is it weird having a layoff, and is it important to start getting matches as we get into the new year and closer to the trials?
Yeah, I was trying to get matches leading up to the end of the year with the RTC Cup. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We got a little COVID issue on our end, so we weren't able to make it. But I've been looking for matches this whole time, and I really feel that my best performance is when I hit about 20 to 25 matches in a year. So just looking back and tracing my steps back to August of this last year, trying to get those number of matches is going to be a little bit more difficult this year. So trying to manufacture those is important. Cards like this and being able to go over to France and hopefully get 3 or 4 matches over there before the trials, and maybe hit one more card before then. So just to prepare and mentally sharpen and figure out how to make adjustments that need to be made depending on what you're trying to do out there.
And Kyle, you have two events in 2 consecutive weeks. I'm not sure when the last time you had 2 events back to back was. What's it like preparing for not only McFadden, who's an up and comer, but also to wrestle in back to back weeks? It's got to be something that hasn't happened in a while, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been. I don't know when the last time was. Probably in 2013 when I wrestled back to back weeks. But it's going to be something that I'm used to. Obviously it's a little bit of a change. I'm going down to 74 for the France tournament, so it's going to be, that's the weight that I'm kind of focusing on. So my weight's going to be a little bit lower than it normally would be for a card like this. But I'm excited to go out and wrestle. I'm used to wrestling big guys all the time with Gabe and Max and Scotty. So yeah.
David, you said at the beginning of the interview that you're wanting to be the best. You want to be on top, and you'll have a great opportunity to find out where you stand against 2-time world champion in Kyle Dake. How are you thinking about and preparing for a matchup with an opponent like Dake?
Yeah, I would say you treat every match the same, but obviously when the stakes are a little higher, I think a little more game planning goes into it, and your focus kind of becomes sharper. So I'm not going to give away my secrets, but I think our coaching staff has done a great job in practice. The practices have kind of been tailored to the guys competing this weekend. We have me and Joey competing on the senior level this week, and some Penn guys. So just training for tendencies, match management, just watching some film and breaking that stuff down, just like any other big match. But yeah, it's a great opportunity, and I'm very excited.
Kyle, how do you stay focused and not overlook, right? Because you're obviously the favorite, but I would assume need to come in mentally prepared. Yeah. How do you get ready and not overlook them? Sorry.
You take every match kind of the way you would if you're wrestling at a high level. So a lot of times what you'll see with younger kids, they'll wrestle to the level of the competition, and they won't wrestle to their peak performance. So every time I go out and step on the mat and hear that whistle, my goal is to wrestle to the greatest of my ability and have that peak performance. So it doesn't matter who I'm wrestling. I don't know who I'm going to wrestle in France. Obviously, I know I'm wrestling David, but every time I step on the mat, I'm trying to be the best I can possibly be.
Sure. And we said just about 10 minutes for this, so just last thing, and it has to do with Saturday night. I'm curious if you guys have thoughts on Burroughs versus Taylor. could you predict a winner or choose whatever? And then Adeline versus Tamira, of course, both of these matches, world champs versus world champs. David McFadden, you got a choice first here on those two matches?
Well, I'm not going to bet against JB, right? He's coming to the PRTC at the end of August or early September. It's a big size advantage, but obviously, JB's been the king for a while. It's hard to bet against him. Even with the size advantage, obviously, I think there's a little gap between Zahid and David, just in terms of age, and David's been on the senior level for, I don't know, 8 years, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I honestly have no idea, but I'm not going to bet against JB. And then Tamara versus Adeline, I'm going to go. I'm going to go Tamara.
All right, dig it. They're both going to be fun. Kyle, do you have you know both these guys well?
Yeah, I think the size and length is going to be a little bit more of a problem than anticipated. I mean, he's got the same length. David has the same length as Zahid had. Not the quite the speed, but it's different. The pace is just way different. Jordan's usually got a pretty good pace and can hang with it, but we'll see what. It's really going to be determined who controls the pace of the match. That's what I think. As far as I think David's probably going to win. It'll be close. It'll probably come down to a sprint in the last 30 seconds. And, I think for Tamira and Adeline, I really like the way Tamira wrestles. She's explosive. She's fun. She tries to score points. But Adeline has proven that she's, one of the best in the world. So I think I'll probably go with Adeline on that one.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate the time today. This goes down this Friday, January 8th. Undercard at 5, main card at 7 p.m. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
See you guys.
Thank you. All right, so main event, Dake versus McFadden should be fun. I don't know if this is the co-main, but another one on this card that we're super excited about is going to be Mike Macchiavello versus Gabe Dean. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. How's it going?
Good, man.
It's good. Thanks for having us.
All right, and you guys are not new to this, right? The card style versus tournament, right? I guess does it change even a little bit when it's like I guess it's kind of like a dual meet, right? But it's like I'm wrestling this guy on this date. Is there watching his film more, just being aware of tendencies, etc. for this match? Mark, we'll start with you.
I think maybe a little, but it's at the end of the day, it's wrestling for 6 minutes in a circle. So I think you got to show up and compete, at the end of the day. But yeah, so just simple for me. I'm not sure what his process is, but
you make it sound so wrestle for 6 minutes in a circle. That's all.
I try not to overcomplicate it,
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Gabe, same kind of question, you've been on some of these cards and the differences between a card and a tournament and the way you prepare.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what he's saying. I don't try to overcomplicate things myself, at the end of the day. You got to put 6 hard minutes together, and Mock's a great opponent. I'm looking forward to the challenge. He's a big guy. He outgrew me. Mock got bigger than me.
Hey, I know you're sitting over 200 right now. So
I've been eating like double Chipotle bowls the whole week. Man. Be ready to go. I grew out my beard just so that I looked a little bit more intimidating too. So, but I'm looking forward to the match. I mean, I spent some time with Mike, and we were overseas together. We were both training partners for Dake and Snyder. I think, Mock, were you Snyder, or who was you were with one of the guys?
Yeah, Snyder year before Jaden that year. Yeah.
Yeah, so we spent some time together, and nothing but classy and respect for Mike and what he's been able to do with his career. So
yeah, I was really hoping to get some. Go ahead.
No, I just said likewise. I mean, do you want us to fight? I mean, I don't know what the goal here is.
I was hoping for it, though. I knew it wasn't going to happen, so it's got to be natural. If you guys saw Dake and Burroughs argue, I want you guys to. No, I'm joking. But you
That's
you guys.
acting. That's acting. I mean, we can act if you want. I mean.
No, to that point, right? You guys, you're likable guys. You're friendly to each other. At what point do you turn that switch? Is it at weigh-ins? Is it after you see each other the day before, or so? Like, you're not going to be high-fiving an hour before the event, or probably even talking, or maybe hardly even looking at each other. I think, right? I don't know this, but at what point do you? All right, wind off the nice guy thing, and I don't know about put your mean face on, but like put your game face on.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you're a competitor, right? So the second you slap hands, you're going to compete with what you've been doing your whole life. I don't know, when you get to this level, which I've come to find just in my little short time competing again, it's like it's important not to take anything too seriously outside of just getting better with your technique and training hard. You're around each other a lot, at training camps, and like I said, we were overseas. I mean, you got a lot of downtime. So I don't think creating enemies in this sport is necessarily beneficial because it's a pretty tight community, pretty small community. But when you step on the mat and it's a real match and, you're in front of God and everybody, it's just time to compete, and it's not personal.
Sure.
So.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I agree with what he said also. I think too, like for me specifically, I'll think, bigger picture. Yeah, we may be competitors on this specific day, but at the end of the day, we all represent the same country, United States of America. And so I think a lot of it's about development, helping each other get better and the development of our country in general so we can perform better at overseas tournaments and international competitions as a whole. So I got a lot of respect for people that wear the red, white, and blue on their singlet. I see them as teammates, in my personal opinion, especially when we go to camps and we're training together. We pick each other's brains and we learn from one another. Sorry, that's my dog. All right.
That's all right. That's special guest.
Yeah. And I think, too, also, for me, when I really flip the switch, it's probably like, one or two matches right before I'm getting ready to step it on the mat. But prior to that, I'm pretty – I'm same old Mark, I don't really change a whole lot, and I try not to,
Sure.
So.
Cool.
Mike, talk to me about how you feel about the results that you've had since this pandemic. I mean, you've had now a handful of really high-level matches. How are you feeling about your progress and how you've competed, RTC Cup and so on?
I'm not really happy about it, to be honest. I think I've made some good progress, but I think there's a lot of jumps that I need to make between now and April. I think RTC Cup, from what I've heard, I was on the Basher Mania podcast a couple of days ago, and they were like, "Oh man, Mark looks good. Mark's getting, so much better." And to be honest, I didn't really think it was that great of a showing personally. I think I wasn't super sharp. I think it was, a very gritty performance, which I'm happy about. And I got some good results, which I'm also happy about. And I think it gave me some stuff to take away and improve on afterwards. But I'm not anywhere close to where I want to be by the time April comes around. So after that RTC Cup performance, I realized, man, I need to get matches in. I want to get as many matches in as I can. So glad I'm able to get this match in with Dean. I was trying to get a match in with Kirkfleet on the 22nd, but that didn't go through. And I'll wrestle anybody, 86, 97, 125, doesn't matter to me right now. I just want mat time. Because I think that's when I learn best. I think it's the purest form of accountability. And right now it's all about making the jumps I need to make in order to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish come April and Lord willing, hopefully August. So, again, I don't think the jumps, I don't think my performances have been that great. So, and that's my honest opinion. Obviously I hold myself to a high regard. And I have high expectations for myself, so that's why I say that. But so just looking to develop even more and just get some more mat time. So really looking forward to this match on Friday.
Well, man, more mat time. That's good to hear. We love watching you compete, and the fans do too. And man, speaking of mat time, Gabe, I mean, 6 months ago you weren't competing at all. You were retired, and you were a full-time coach. Now you're taking as many matches as anybody has been. Talk about your return to competition and how you feel about where you're at compared to your goals.
Well, it's your guys' fault, but I told you guys. You guys are the one that pulled me back into this, man. So I was gonna come out. You incentivized me to come out for the 8-man thing, and then I think Coach Cole and our kind of took advantage of an opportunity to kind of push me in. Like, hey, if you're gonna wrestle in the 8-man thing, you should wrestle in the U.S. Open, just to get ready for it. All right, I'll wrestle in the U.S. Open. Didn't compete my best by any means, but it's like win that, won that, and then wrestle the 8-man thing. Unfortunately, force of gut wrench got stepped over, like we all know, and then, you start putting yourself out there. More and more opportunities come, and a great opportunity to wrestle David Taylor came, and I took it, and I really think that was kind of like the match that was, was it really going to show me where I was at? Hey, because I was on the fence. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep going. I'll wrestle this one more match, and we'll see. I was like, okay, I believe I can compete with this guy, and he's the best guy in the world. So I was like, might as well. There's going to be a year to do it, because at the end of the day, our guys and our team is my first priority. But right now, as we know, the Ivy League got shut down, and if there's going to be a time or a year to do it and give it a shot, it would be this year. And just kind of taking a step at a time right now, but enjoying the competition. It's been, just haven't felt those that awesome feeling of competing in a while, and so it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it, given the circumstances.
Have you learned anything about yourself, Gabe? Thinking I'm retired and I'm done, and then like, oh, I'll take the tournament. Oh, I guess I'll do the other tournament first. Oh, now David. Now like, okay, now I'm going now trials. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I've learned that you can never really have a set plan in life because it takes turns. It just you never know. You think you're gonna. All right, I'm retired. I'm doing this, and then the global pandemic hits, and then you're competing again, and you're just like, all right, well, I guess you got to take it as it comes, But the most important thing, and kind of my purpose in my life is to continue to recognize opportunity and go to the place that provides the most opportunity. And it just happened to be take a turn, and here we are, and wrestling in these matches. So I'm like I said, I'm enjoying it. And I'm a guy that enjoys challenges, and I like keeping myself as young as I can. So, yeah.
Well, if you hang out with Kyle Dake, I believe he gets younger as time goes on. So if you're trying to, no.
He's never gonna live that down. He's never gonna live. I told him that, I was like, dude, you ain't ever living that line down. That's sticking with you for life. You should probably have shirts made.
On his deathbed, yeah. Okay, last thing, it has to do with Saturday night. You guys are competing on Friday night. Saturday night, we got Jordan Burroughs wrestling David Taylor, and we have Adeline Gray wrestling Tamara Mensah-Stock. Both cases, multiple-time world champ versus world champ. Do you guys have predictions on who might win in those two bouts? And Mark, we'll let you start first.
No predictions.
Oh! Sucker.
I knew you were gonna hate me for that.
I don't hate you. I just really dislike you. No.
It's all right. It's all right.
I think it's going to be a challenge. I mean, it's hard to bet against Jordan Burroughs, right? I mean, he's just finds a way to win. It seems in every match that he wrestles. But I mean, he's going up a weight class. He's the best guy in the world, and I know David's a big guy, and I think there's some factors leaning towards David's way. So I'm going to go with David for that match just because of the circumstances, and then Tamara versus Adeline. I think both great wrestlers, and obviously both have accomplished a ton. I think Tamara will figure out a way to get it done. So as of right now.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate that prediction, Gabe. Mike.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Guys, you're always. I wish we could do this for a half hour. We got the next two guys lined up and ready to come on. So I'll let you two get on with your day, but definitely do appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us. And both you guys, best of luck on Friday.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, fellas. Have a great day.
See you, everybody.
All right. Yeah, two more fun guys to talk to, and I didn't think we are gonna get much smack talk. And I don't think we're gonna get much on the next, and that's fine. But Gabe and Mark, and there's gonna be a little weight difference, I would think. And Mark probably had the size advantage, but he kind of called Gabe out and said, "Bro, you're over 200 right now."
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and Clash of Styles, and this next one's gonna be fun. It might be the match I'm most excited about for the event.
Very much looking forward to it. It's gonna be Yianni-Diacolus and Yianni-Ashnault. Gentlemen, how are you doing today? Y'all can hear us?
Yeah, man, I can hear you. How you guys doing?
Good, thanks. Anthony, are you it looks like you're at a rehab table or something. Am I just?
Yeah, I was just getting out of practice. I wish I could. I'm in the Rutgers room. I had to get some privacy. These guys are getting interviewed after practice, like Seabass and a couple of our studs, and I was interrupting them out there, so I had to sneak off.
All right. Well, I appreciate you chatting with us, both of you guys. And this was like a late. And a lot of times the way these cards are happening and the way the world is today, it's like, all right, something's set, something happens, we need a replacement. It's happened to us. It's happened to this card. This was a very late replacement, right? Not that you're not ready, but Anthony, is that right?
Yeah. I got a text on Friday asking my interest, and I was super interested, and it kind of developed throughout the weekend, and I didn't know the circumstances as much, but when I first got reached out to, it was going to be in New Jersey, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense for me. That would be great. I'm going to USA Wrestling Camp January 10th, and then it got switched to North Carolina, and logistically it was a little tough for me, but Spartan RTC made it happen on their end, and it was a no-brainer, man, to wrestle Yianni, to have that opportunity. That's the match I want, like one of the matches I wanted for a long time, since I knew I was going to go 65 kilograms. He's one of the best guys in the world in USA. I'm just grateful for the opportunity and excited to get the scrap at him.
Awesome. Kind of same question for you, Yianni. I think you were supposed to wrestle Austin O'Connor. UNC thing whole happens with the whole situation we all been dealing with for the last 9 months. What do you think when they said they flipped the script and said now it's Ashnault?
Yeah, I mean, obviously O'Connor's really tough, but it's great to wrestle someone like Anthony who, he's going to be at the Olympic trials. He's going to be at 65, and he's probably one of, if not the only 65 kilo guy who's in the trials that I haven't wrestled a real match yet. So, it's a good test for me, and it's kind of like the same thing. I got a call saying, all right, you're not going to wrestle O'Connor. We're going to try to get you a match, but we're not sure. And then literally that same day, I think Mike Gray called me and was like, all right, you're going to wrestle Ashnault. Is that fine for you? I'm like, yeah. So kind of the same situation, getting pulled around a little bit, but that's just kind of how it's been going this year. So I don't mind. It's just kind of how it is now.
Sure. And as that change happens, I guess we'll start with you, Yianni. Do you have a catalog of people in your head? Like, I know how Anthony wrestles, or is there like a little bit of, let me watch some matches and understand tendencies, etc.?
No, I mean, there's only a handful of guys realistically who I have to be able to beat to make the Olympic team. So, I feel like I generally, and everyone's been around for so long. It's not like Anthony Ashnault's a guy you didn't know about. He was great in high school, great in college, great at the senior level. So a lot of times with these guys, it's like they've been around for so long. You don't have to, study them so intensely. It's like, how they wrestle, what it looks like, and you just got to be ready to go and make sure that you're sharp. So, obviously, I mean, you change how you wrestle maybe a little bit for each guy, but in the end, you're ready to wrestle anybody.
Sure. Kind of the same question to you, Anthony. Right? Is there any like specific preparation, even on this late notice, with Yianni and I don't know, how do you? Well, we'll start with that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Yianni presents a very unique style, but similarly, I'm focused on wrestling my best, and I'm focused on coming out there and wrestling hard, and from whistle to whistle, I'm coming off a tough competition where I didn't perform how I feel like I was capable of performing and how I was performing in practice. So that is a lot of fuel for me trying to get another match. I was wanting another match after that tournament, and I'm excited to get on the mat again versus almost the similar competition, wrestling Bajrang in the semis, wrestling Yianni, they battled and Yanni's beating him. So for me, it's an opportunity to kind of immediately get back what I just lost a couple weeks back. And I'm excited for that opportunity, as well as, wrestling a guy that lives that life and I'm excited to wrestle a guy that I know it's going to be a battle. There's some guys at every level where they're the best. They're professionals, and Yianni's a professional, and I'm excited because I feel like I'm a professional and I belong on that stage as well. So I'm excited to go compete against a like-minded guy.
Yeah, Anthony, you brought up the 8-man bracket, and you got an opportunity to get your hands on some really high-level guys, both, Bajrang, Pantaleo, Henderson. What were the takeaways for you from that event and the things that, maybe you're already building in as you prepare for this next one?
A lot of mental lessons that I learned very quickly. I expected to have quick turnarounds in those matches, but to mentally prepare for that event, I thought I did a great job, but there were some things like we only had about 20-30 minutes in between each match. Felt like a very quick turnaround, and I think as I was training for 3 matches in the room, mentally I don't know if I was prepared to be like, all right, well, you might be exhausted right after Henderson, but you have 20 minutes to kind of refocus and repair, and you're going to be okay. And instead of telling myself those thoughts the day of, I think I lapsed a little bit in between those matches. And when it was time to wrestle those second and third matches, I didn't recover mentally, or I wasn't ready to go battle and put it on the line again. And that's something I'm kind of kicking myself about, but also, using it as motivation, and it's a learning lesson, and I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. And this is, for me, I feel like the beginning of my international career still, and my senior level career. And I'm excited to go wrestle in more tournaments. I was hoping to be able to go to France, got on the registration a little late, but I'm hoping that the ranking tournament goes off in March and I could go to that. And I want to wrestle in more tournaments like that, where it's a quick turnaround, and prepare myself to wrestle in the trials, to wrestle in the world and Olympic championships in the future. Because I think it's a very similar setup and similar recovery time to those tournaments.
Nice. And Yianni, obviously you weren't in that 8-man bracket, but a guy that you trained with, Evan Henderson, he wrestled Anthony. And did you have any takeaways from either watching that match or from talking with Coach Gray or with Evan about the match? Did you pick up anything from your teammate who wrestled with Anthony?
Yeah, obviously I'm going to watch. It's all these guys that I've wrestled before, so it was interesting just to see how it plays out. But, they both went out and wrestled hard, and, they mixed it up. Anthony was controlling the first period pretty strongly, and then Evan started to kind of change how we wrestled and helped him out a little bit. But, he just, in the end, he had a hard time, getting to a score at the end. But they both wrestled really hard. So, just got to make sure when I'm wrestling, I'm ready to go, and, I'm ready to scrap for the whole match.
Awesome. We're very excited for it, guys. I want to get your thoughts, if you don't mind, though. Saturday night, Jordan Burroughs wrestles David Taylor. Adeline Gray wrestles Tamara Mensah-Stock. I don't know, 10, 11, 12 world Olympic titles between the 4 of them or something like that. Do you guys have any thoughts or predictions on those 2 matches? We'll start with you, Yianni.
With the Jordan and Taylor match, I feel like on paper, you want to say Taylor is bigger and he's got to be stronger, and he's in great shape, so he's not going to wear out. Jordan's going to have a harder time putting points up late than he did maybe in other matches. But it's hard to bet against Jordan. He's good at finding ways to win matches. It's not like he's never won a match that he probably wasn't supposed to or wasn't expected to before. So, that one's like a toss-up to me. And then, with the women's match, I feel like it's the same kind of thing. I know I've seen them both wrestle, and Tamara is really strong and she's really athletic and she's really dominant, at a lighter weight class. So it's just going to be the same kind of thing where, you wonder how much of a difference the size is going to make in both matches, and if the lighter wrestler can overcome that size and wrestle, or if it's going to be, too much of a difference.
Sure.
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
I didn't say anything, I know. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
You don't have to give a prediction if you don't want to. There's nobody forcing you. So Mike Mock gave us the X. He wouldn't give us a prediction either, and that's okay. I still like him, and I guess you're still okay too, Yianni. Anthony, do you have any thoughts?
My initial instinct was Tamara. I don't know. I just thought, looking at her wrestle compared to Adeline Gray, she's more exciting in my eyes and has a lot more skills in my eyes when I watch. And then I typed type their match in the Google search bar, you know, and watch their match from like 19 or 18 back, and I was like, damn, like Adeline Gray kind of put it on her. So I was like, I'm back to being in the middle. I still want to lean towards Tamara, but you know, Adeline Gray stays very, very basic, but she's very good at what she does. And are we going to see her kind of shut her down again and just score on go behinds and reattacks and some parterre offense, or is Tamara going to level up and knock her off? I think that's going to happen. I think Tamara's going to win that, and then I guess I don't really want to ever bet against Jordan until proven otherwise, so I'm going to go Burroughs.
All right. Last thing, can you guys look at each other and say something really mean? I'm kidding. You guys are two of the nicest guys in the sport. We don't need that. I'll take it, but I don't think it's going to happen, so that's fine. Gentlemen.
I'm going to get to his legs all day, all match.
All right.
I didn't hear you.
I said guys kind of live there sometimes. It's just about finishing. But
yeah, we'll see.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun, dude. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, fellas, I appreciate it. We'll see you guys Friday. Starts at 7 p.m. for the main card. Thanks so much for tuning in with us today, and best of luck this weekend.
Yes. See you out there, Yanni. See you guys.
Appreciate it. All right, that was fun. So we had those three matches. Also, we have on the main card, Vito is going to be taking on Kolioko. Really excited about that. And again, main event goes down at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's all watchable here on FloWrestling. We're going to move on and put the events behind us and move to our guest, which is a two-time NCAA champ for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Graduated in 1998. That's when I graduated high school. I don't think anybody cares. Mark Ironside. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Man, I'm fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. First thing I want to check up on is I know we spoke with you back in maybe April or something. You came on the show, and you got the apparel show or store out at Iowa. It was tough times with COVID. Have you guys rebounded and kind of bounced back a little bit?
Well, just it's the wrestling mentality that has to, come to life. It's like, Gable's famous quote from years ago, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is the mentality you got to have. I'm not in this alone. There's a lot of people that are going through some hard times right now. And to answer your question, no, business has not really picked up a whole lot. Christmas helped a little bit, but it is what it is. It's just it's not a whole lot you can do. You can try and be creative, but you just hope that this time passes, keep fighting, and things will get better. And things were going great. Things were going great for the sport of wrestling. Things were going great for business. It was good. Everything was good until this hit. It's just a little bump in the road for now, and we'll get past it, just like you guys.
I like that mentality. A little bump in the road. Okay, I mentioned this to you before off camera. We want to, we put this Life of Dan Gable documentary up, and your perspective has got to be a really unique one because you were there up until the very end with Coach Gable, and you got the picture over your left shoulder, I think that is. What was it like growing up, watching Iowa wrestling and Gable and the dominance that it was? And I think, are you from Iowa? Probably living.
Yeah, I'm from Cedar Rapids, and which is right like 30 miles. Yeah, you guys fly into Cedar Rapids when you fly out here. So, I'm right now, actually, I live in Swisher, which is right between Cedar Rapids and Iowa City. So I'm even closer to Iowa City. But I grew up right here. I grew up and first started watching Iowa Public Television, all the Iowa wrestling meets, back when, Royce Alger was wrestling and followed Gable and the Iowa program. And then, when Tom and Terry, came into the Spectrum and the Steiners, and then, Tom Ryan and that great team, Chad Zappital, so many greats. I followed it religiously, and Gable, one of my heroes. And I was too young to watch him, obviously, in the Olympics. Wasn't even born when he won the Olympics, but did my research and really studied the sport of wrestling. And when I got recruited right out of high school to a lot of different places, the only visit I took was to Iowa City. That was it. It was Iowa City or bust.
How That's crazy. Did you talk to other coaches? Did you like take other recruiting calls?
I took the calls and just said, I appreciate the phone call. It's good to hear from you. Not interested. I mean, I was going to Iowa. That's if I was going to be successful. I wasn't like Yianni or Jordan Burroughs. I mean, those guys are so talented, so unbelievably talented. But what makes them amazing is their work ethic and talent, both put together into one. You don't find that. A lot of times you'll find real talented athletes, but then their work ethic, kind of lacks a little bit. If you can get someone like Yianni or Burroughs where their work ethic and their talent, both are a very high level, that's pretty rare. And I don't believe, I didn't really have the talent. When I graduated from high school, okay in some areas, but I knew that my style and what I needed to be at the highest level, it was going to be a perfect fit for me to go to Iowa City. So I just very politely, let the coaches know I appreciated their time and their effort reaching out to me. But I just knew I needed to get to Iowa City. And I mean, at that time too, Tom and Terry Brands, and the Steiners and Zapparel, they were all graduating right as I was going in. So there was no better workout partners in the world at that time than what I would have in that room in Iowa City.
All right. I guess to the workout part, whether it's, I don't know, like I want to talk about physical and mental, but I want to talk about the physical first. What was the physical training like under Gable? Like I remember growing up thinking like, oh my God, that stuff seems so, and I wasn't Flow or YouTube or a whole lot of ways to watch what was going on there, but you heard everything. What was the physical training like? How demanding was it? And was it harder than you thought? Not as hard as you thought? Somewhere in the middle?
Well, there's a paper here in Cedar Rapids called the Cedar Rapids Gazette. J.R. Ogden was a sports writer back then. And when I was in high school and I was reading it, it might have been like me. And Gable's being Gable, but it had a picture of him wearing a football helmet, walking around the room, carrying a bat with him. Like a wiffle ball bat, and one of his quotes, which don't quote me on it, but it was like, if to come into this room, I wear my cowboy boots to make a point, and I carry my bat, and have to wear a football helmet, in this room because headgears are flying and so forth, whatever. So my eyes are really big. Like that room has to be just crazy.
Yeah.
And then when I got down there, it pretty much lived up to what Gable was saying in that article. It was pretty crazy. And especially when you got, Tom and Terry Brands in the same room and you go so many competitors. And the great thing about wrestling at that point in time too was like the really good guys wrestled with the really good guys every single day. It was like you didn't see guys just grabbing easy partners just to take have a super easy day or whatever. I mean, every day was just like, just to be able to watch the practice, that was probably better than, if you could come in and watch the practices, was better than being able to come to the actual Iowa wrestling meets. Just Tom and Terry rap, with different people. Like Tom wrestling with Lincoln McGravy. That was some of the best in my life. To answer your question, it was as hard as I thought it'd be, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be. The rigorous of the workouts was as hard as I thought it'd be, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be because you know why? You had 35 other guys around doing it at the same time, and you weren't alone. You weren't by yourself. And the other thing was too is everything that Gable ever had us do, you knew that he did himself or was still doing at that time as well too. So that helps a lot. If you get a coach with a whistle around his neck and socks pulled up and his gym shorts on and he's just screaming and barking orders, but he's never really worked that hard a day in his life, then it's kind of hard to respect someone like that and, go out and perform for him and work hard. But when you got Dan Gable, directing orders, then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I bet. We got a clip from this film that I want to pull up, and it's him addressing the group, but he's specifically talking to a backup, and we'll just play it. And there's a point I kind of want to. It's maybe a minute long, but let's play it, and then I got a question for you afterwards.
It's important for me to get the ones that aren't ready. Coble, I might want you to dress this week. I don't know. I'll probably Russell Gillis right now. I'm not going to give you probably a tryout. You got this match, and then you got the Midlands. Then we're evaluated again. If you want to weigh in and get the experience, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I'd recommend it, going out there in front of that crowd. Because if you haven't put many Iowa uniforms on in front of the home people, have you? Have you? You put that Iowa uniform on. Ask Lincoln about it. You know, you're sometimes a stud, but sometimes you put that Iowa uniform on for the first time and you get a little nervous. Gillis looked up, saw 11,000 people looking at him. He felt great. All of a sudden, his legs got wobbly at Penn State before the match even started. Nothing like experience.
I guess I saw you kind of reacting and smiling. I could see thoughts or emotions going through your head. What do you think when you see that clip?
All kinds of stuff, you know. Poor Coble, Eric Coble. That guy is like literally the nicest guy ever. You couldn't put a nicer guy in the sport or on this earth. He's out of Cedar Falls, Iowa, and he's just sitting there like just hand on his chin, like, is he actually asking me that question? Do I respond? Do I just sit here? It was great, and it was just typical Gable, you know, and that's why Gable was so successful, and you know, one of the absolute best coaches of all time is he just had everybody ready to go. And, you know, that, like how he was addressing the team that day, that's something where we did every single day, and he had you on the edge of your seat. And even though he wasn't talking directly to you, you were paying attention, and you were soaking it all in as if he was talking to you. And those talks and his philosophies and the way that he manipulated conversations sometimes, and just to get into your head, and the way that he brought, you know, Gillis into it and then McRavy into it, it makes you think, and it gets everything out of you. And the guy's a master. He's a mastermind.
Yeah, I've heard that. There was something that struck me about that, and I've seen him do it within the last year. I was with Royce, and they were working out, and he like talk, and then he got really loud, and then he spiked, and then he kind of something, and he was kind of still fired up, but it wasn't like a rage. It was just like a talking, and like out of nowhere, it's like a spike. And you're like, whoa. Like, did that happen? And often, is that something you remember?
Yeah, for sure. That happened often. You know, Gable was, I mean, you've shaken his hand, Bader. I mean, you know, when you shake his hand, it's not like it's like a death grip. It's very gentle handshake. And Gable was a very, I don't want to say a gentleman, but he was like, when he taught us stuff, he was calm, cool, collective. But when he got wrapped up in something, or he got really intense or something like that, that spike right there, it would just jump out of him, and just really, and that's why you're on the edge of your seat all the time, because you just never know when something's going to come, and it grabs you, and it's like he's speaking to you at all times, and it keeps you engaged in what he's talking about, what he's saying. And you saw it too, you know, when he coached as well too, and he was really, you know, calm, cool. He'd smile a lot on the bench, calm, cool, collected. But, man, I tell you what, he could jump out of that chair so fast and chew a referee, like, instantaneously. And that's just what made him really, really good. You never knew what angle he was coming from or where he was coming from. And I think he did a lot of that on purpose.
It's so interesting to hear you say, you know, talk about being on the edge of your seat, because I felt that even just watching that clip, and I had no idea that you guys had speeches like that every day. Were those prepared speeches that Gable would kind of have, or was it just sort of the things that were happening to be on his mind that day, or was he off the cuff, or how was he preparing those things?
Well, I think that, you know, very similar to Tom. Tom reminds me of Gable so much, which, you know, I mean, he was coached underneath him. He coached with him. You know, I think they come in with basically like an itinerary, maybe a few things written down on a paper, a few things in their mind that they want to talk to and address that day. You know, things that you talk about are, you know, your competition coming up that week, or, travel arrangements, just all kinds of stuff, whether you get what you need nutrition-wise, weight control, whatever, specific individual matchups. There's just all sorts of different stuff that you would talk about on a regular basis. And some of those talks would last for an hour, honestly, and then some of them would be 5 minutes, and then you're out on the mat and you're getting ready, warmed up and ready to go. It just kind of all depends on the day. But I think what they did a lot is they would come in with kind of an itinerary, a few things jotted down, but then a lot from there, it would just get, to answer your question, off the cuff. The thing about, Coach Gable, as well as, Tom, is you could give them, and you could just write a speech down on a piece of paper, and you could give it to, someone like Gable, and then you give it to somebody else, and you could just have them start reading that script. And they could read it literally word for word, but would come across as two completely different talks just because of the mannerisms and the way they talk and the way that they hit certain points and so forth. But then you also have Gable to where he'd probably be, 2 sentences in, throw the paper away, and he'd just be off on his own, doing his own thing. So
that spike, that jump out, you never know when he's gonna jump at you or whatever you want to call it. Do you remember that? Any instances? It's a little while back, but do you remember specifically any instances when he was directed towards you, good, bad, or indifferent?
Not really. Not any specific ones. My thing with Gable is with me. I remember some things him teaching me, and not really spiking, but just really implementing some different techniques into my style of wrestling that I really perked up and kind of thought, that's not really me, And one in particular, I'm not a leg rider, and I, I think it was my junior year. He's like, Ironside, you're pretty good on top, but we're gonna make you really, really, really good. We're gonna make you great on top. I'm gonna teach you to use your legs on top. And I'd be like, Gable, the first thing I do when we go situations in the room, you start with the leg, and as I take the leg out, like, I am not a leg rider, Yeah. And he was like, Ironside, would you just listen to me? There's more than one way, basically, to skin the cat. And when he talks about legs, he was talking about like hooking ankles, elevating, lifting, driving through. And I'll tell you what, he taught me from that top position how to use my lower half as well as my upper half, my hands, wrists, staying behind the arms, wrist control, so forth, whatever, which is basically all I did. But once he taught me how to use that lower half, the riding ability and the turns the level just rose so much. And but there's just so many things that arm Turks, leg Turks, just using all forms of the body, things that I didn't feel I was comfortable doing or would be good enough to do, and he really taught me well at that. So I don't know, that's just something that Gable was good at, but nothing to really spike at me. There was times that he would get on me in practice, kind of get under my skin a little bit, and I would come back at him and call him some inappropriate names, and he would get me so pissed off, and I'm trying so hard and wrestling so hard, and said some things that that were definitely disrespectful to him as a coach, but that's what he wanted. I think that's what he was trying to capture. What he's trying to do is to get to that level. And then I remember a few times, and then I'd get done and one of the last ones out of the room, and I'd shower up and I'd go to leave, and he'd be on that airdyne, just beating that airdyne to leave, and I would go over, cut my head down, and just say, "Hey, I didn't mean what I said, Coach. Sorry, Coach." And he'd be like, "Yeah, just get out of here," type of thing. It's like he knew he won then.
Wow, that's great. His own career, his own life, and specifically wrestling career, right? And there's the one match against Owens that he says motivated him to springboard and maybe to have the success he did as a coach. Did he talk about that with you guys? His failures? He's had so many successes and a giant. Not about a giant failure.
He may have. I don't remember any specific time of him talking about the Larry Owens match or his failures or anything like that. I think in a indirect way, he spoke of them probably many times, and use it as an example without using him as an example, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
but that's the thing about Gable. It's kind of like Royce, you've been around Royce a lot. You can just sit there and talk to him all day about so many different stories and positives and negatives. And the thing is they're all influential. And that's what I loved about Gable and being around him. He was just, I was like a sponge to him. I'd want to be around him as much as possible, but I also kind of, he's like God. If you're on a bus ride, he's up there in the front of the bus, it's like there's a glow around his seat, that's just kind of how I looked at him. And if, he'd ever want to talk to you or whatever, you were just 100% focused and all ears on everything he said. And he just had so much guidance and information, whether it was wrestling related or life related.
Did he ever, I understand, I think he gets fired up and he barks stuff and this and that, or maybe even trying to antagonize you in the room. Did he ever come unglued? My college coach, a handful of times I can think throughout my time in college, came unglued, unglued, right? And I don't know, before I got to know this side of wrestling and Gable and kind of what he was about, I used to think he's probably just this mean guy with a whip and he yells and he freaks out. And then I get to know more and I'm like, no, he was all calculated and smart and is like a psychologist. But did he ever just, you guys got beat where you should have won, or et cetera, or he just came unglued and you were your hand sitting on your hands and you're scared?
Yeah, definitely on more than one occasion. We lost to Oklahoma State in the national duels. Trying to think of what year that was. Maybe my sophomore year. It could have been actually my junior year, I think, is the year that we lost to them. We had a close call with Penn State one time. There was a few different occasions where Arizona State, we wrestled the time we wrestled Arizona State at Arizona State, we won. I lost to Steve St. John. But we did not perform well down there. And when we got back, we got off the airplane and got on the bus to head to Iowa City, which is like a 20-minute drive. He said, hey, we got to work out as soon as we get back. And I'm not Bader. That's probably one of the hardest workouts I've ever done. You've been in Carver Hawk Arena. I don't know if you've ever run the stairs. I did a stair lap. But we did 2 stair laps in a row and then went down to the room and continued to drill hard, so many shots, so many executions. And the thing was, and that's what was great about him, was he was fired up. He didn't really say anything to us down there, but when we got back and we landed, it was on like Donkey Kong, and he let us have it. And it was no going home, coming back the next day or anything like that. It was immediately right with the plane when you're jet lagged a little bit and so forth or whatever, but he got it out of our systems right away. But there was times, to answer your question, that he would definitely come unglued in the room and or in the back room after a meeting, like in the locker room or something like that, and as well as on referees. I remember one time specifically the Big Ten Championships, my junior year when he was on his crutches at that time, and he got on Keith Pullman during the Zach Taylor and Mike Euchre match. And a lot of people saw that. And if anybody would ever have a video of that, holy smokes, that'd be a cool video. It was a great match to watch, and it was a great video to watch because Gable came from all the way over. He wasn't even in his corner, Euchre's corner. He came all the way around, hobbling around on his crutches, got up on the elevated stage and pointed his crutch at Pullman and said, "Get over here." And he let him have it.
Man.
That sounds scary.
That season,
when he got pissed, it didn't matter. When he got pissed, and you knew it. I mean, you knew it, and it didn't matter who you were. I mean, you were going to listen, and you were going to do whatever he said.
Man, that season, that 97 season, that's really heavily featured in the film. And, I'm curious what that was like for you being part of that team, having camera crews around, knowing that there's this documentary film crew following you guys all the time. What was it like to live through that season with like these cameras around all the time? Was that unusual?
Yeah, it was unusual, but honestly, I'm probably not the guy to ask, but I didn't even know the cameras were there. I was so focused on what needed to be focused, and that was me winning my first national championship at that time. I was basically in kill mode from losing in the semifinals the year before in the national championships in overtime, and I had one thing on my mind only, and that was winning a national title. I honestly didn't even notice the cameras or anything. I just wanted to win. I wanted to win it for me, and I wanted to send Gable out on a high note, and didn't want the team to let him down in his potential at that time last year. And we're just focused to go out and win a national title.
I mean, that season had some bumps in the road. I mean, the way it finished was incredible. I mean, 5 champs, I think 6 in the finals. You guys scored 170 points. Did you know that kind of a performance was possible from not only yourself but for the team?
Well, that's where Gable, like I said, he's just a master. There were so many things that went into that performance at the national champions that year in Cedar Falls. I mean, we weren't ranked number 1. Okie State was ranked number 1. We'd gotten beaten by them, I think, twice that year, once in the duels and once in the regular dual meet. And they had basically done everything but hand, them the trophy going into there. And I think one is the Big Ten championships, which a lot of people don't realize, they don't even know. How many champions in the Big Tens that year, 2 weeks before that? You guys know?
It was like 2 or 3?
2.
2.
Really?
2 Big Ten champs, 5 NCAA champs 2 weeks later. That shows you how tough the Big Ten is. But that's also shows you, like, we trained so hard. And I'm not using that as an excuse, but I think that's one of the reasons we didn't perform quite as well at the Big Ten championships as we did the NCAA championships, was just that we didn't train through the Big Ten championships, but we didn't let off the gas a whole lot going into the Big Tens. And we only had 2 champs, Lincoln McRavy and myself. And but then between the Big Tens and the Nationals, Gable really started working his magic, getting our minds and bodies ready. And I'm telling you, when I say magic, the guy's got a touch. He's got words and just things that he does. And I remember on the way up on the bus ride to Cedar Falls, him reading an article in the paper about Oklahoma State and John Smith and how, they pretty much, were a lock to win it, and how those people don't even know what they're talking about. They haven't even seen the real team yet. They don't even know who Jesse Whitmer is yet. He played all these, I don't want to say mind games, but he made you believe that you were going to basically be a national champion and an All-American. I mean, we had performances like we've never had. Tony Ersland coming through and, being an All-American. Jesse Whitmer winning the national championship. Mike Euchre being an All-American, but he actually, threw and had Brandon Slay pinned at one point in time. I think that was in the semifinals that year. He could have been in the finals himself. Could have had 7 finalists. Lee Fullhart putting an unbelievable performance together that year and win his national championship. And, Lincoln was Lincoln. But you could go on and on. And Casey Gillis started it all off for us the very first round with a pin against Maldonado of Iowa State, and the crowd just absolutely erupted. And then once he won, and what people don't realize is, think about it, this is true. During that national tournament, we won as a team a consecutive 24 matches in a row without losing a single match. Can you believe that?
Man, that's insane.
It just, Gable he worked his magic, and he had us physically and mentally ready like never before. And I remember, just the camaraderie that he had amongst us guys, and we were just so loose, but yet so ready to go. And It was just a good time. It was just meant to be, It's like a Cinderella story. Gable's backyard of where he grew up and his last year there, and I think that had a lot to do with the team and the performance and how we weren't just obviously wrestling for us, but we were wrestling for him. And it just, it's kind of cliche to say, it's a Cinderella story and all that or whatever, but there was a lot of truth to that at the time.
I'm curious. You said the year before you lost in the semis. I think you said in overtime. What did he say to you, be it when you walked off the mat or at the end of the tournament or middle of summer or early next fall? Like, how did he handle that loss with you?
He didn't say too much. I do remember coming into the room. I was in the room that Sunday afternoon, the day after the tournament, because it was up in Minneapolis. And as soon as I got back, I went in the room and I started drilling on the mannequin right away, the dummy in the room. And I remember him telling me that I needed to develop a good double. I really needed to develop, because I had a hard time finishing some of my single legs against St. John, who I got beat by in that tournament. And I needed to really develop a good double. And he didn't have to say too much, to be honest with you. But just knowing that he was there in the room that Sunday afternoon as well, it just kind of one of those non-talked about moments that the day after the finals, and we were already planning for getting a game plan together for the next season.
Yeah.
As far as him saying anything to me, I walked off the mat. I didn't walk off the mat. I ran off the mat. Royce actually found me. And back then too, you had to make weight that night too, and that was no fun after that, to go and have to hop on a bike and sweat off a few pounds and make weight and so forth, whatever. But Royce hung out with me that night and got my head straight. And then Tom Brands, actually, I didn't even want to warm up the next day for the consolations around that next morning, and I was so upset and ticked off, and mentally just wasn't in the right frame of mind. And Tom went and found some workout gear or something somewhere, and he made me warm up and drill with him. And I thank him to this day for that, just because had I not done that, there's a huge difference. You don't know it at the time, but there's such a huge difference between, say, me getting third that year, coming back, beating some great competition, great athlete, great competitors that had been beat by before, come back and get third, versus if I'd have just threw the towel in and got fifth or sixth. There's at the time it doesn't mean a lot, but down the road it does.
I think you said Royce found you after that semi. Did he find you somewhere like in a corner? Did he find you out in a cornfield? Did he find you at the arena, I assume?
In the back warm-up area.
Yeah.
In the back warm-up area, he got me back there, and I get kind of hot-headed, and I was probably not in the seeing straight. Very, very upset, and he's a good guy to have around for times like that, because he'd been there. He knew what you're going through. He knew what you're feeling, and it is what it is. Everybody goes through it, except for Jordan Burroughs. No, I'm just kidding.
Sure. Even he's had his, not a lot of them, but he's had his moments of struggle, I'm sure. All right, one more clip I want to play for you, and it's like, I think it's right at the end of I think it was 190, not 197 back then, if I'm not mistaken. But it's like, I think the last match or the second last match of the tournament. If we can roll that clip, then I just want to get your reaction again from this one.
Chose down, and to get away you need hand control, and Fullhart was able to keep Katie from...
What do you think? What do you feel? What do you remember?
I see a lot there, I just see pure raw emotion between Terry Brands, who was really tight with Lee Fullhart, and he still is today, and Coach Gable, and Lee Fullhart winning that in overtime, getting out from underneath the bottom against Kading, who's a super tough competitor out of Oklahoma. And that was That was our 5th national champ that year, 6 in the finals. And Mike Mena was the one guy that did not win that year, and he lost in overtime as well too to Eric Guerrero, which Mike Mena ended up choosing top in that match against Guerrero in overtime, and Guerrero got out. So that was a tough one. That was really tough seeing Mena standing there next to Gable. But if you notice how Gable was standing next to Mena, the one guy that never won a national championship, but man, he was ranked number 1 probably 3 years in a row, and it just those are the type of guys in the matches and that Gable thinks about on a regular basis. Those losses, a guy like Chad Zapital, whereas Gable probably looks at where he blames himself. What if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? It's these guys' lives that they go through the rest of their life, and Gable takes that to heart. He really, really does. But other the clips in that video too is just the amount of the crowd when we're getting our award and the award presentation after it's over. If you look in the background, nobody's left. Like nobody packed. Yeah. It was in Gable's backyard. He grew up in Waterloo, which is attached to Cedar Falls. I'm from Cedar Rapids, so it was 45 minutes away. We had a lot of hometown people there. Lee Fullhart was from Decorah, Iowa. He won it. He's 45 minutes away from Cedar Falls. There's just a lot of hometown feel there, and just a lot of good Iowa connections and so forth. And it was a good night. It was a good hawk party that night.
I bet. Did you know he was going to retire?
We knew it was in question for sure. We didn't know 100%. We treated it like it was his last year, and everybody pretty much knew. After he won it in his backyard, Bob Siddons. That's another thing I didn't mention. The gentleman that handed out the national championship trophy to Gable in that clip. That was Gable's high school wrestling coach. Yeah. From Waterloo West High School right there, and that was just kind of nice, kind of a tip to the iceberg that Gable's high school coach could hand him out the national championship trophy. So we kind of knew that was probably going to be his last year, but nothing was definite, or no press conference had been made or anything. But after we won the championship that year and set the the points championship or title or record. It was kind of a good opportunity and good time for him to call it good there.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so cool to think about this time. And I'm actually curious. You're still involved with the Hawkeye program now. You do the commentary for the broadcast, and I just want to know how you're feeling about the Hawkeyes 2021 team. 2020 was like a year where it really felt like Iowa was gonna finally get back on top and win the title. How are you feeling headed into this season?
I feel really good. Unfortunately, with all the regulations and rules and stuff, I can't even go in the room. If I wanted to go in and watch a practice, I just can't. So yeah. I have not seen these guys practice or really perform no more than you guys since the Big Ten championships last year when we left Rutgers. We saw some of them at that Hawkeye Wrestling Club Showdown in Coralville here a while back, which was a good opportunity for them. But I'm just excited like everybody else. It's just very, very unfortunate for the Iowa wrestling program to be in the position that they were in last year for team national title and Coach Tom Brands and the whole team. But there's just nothing. There's nothing they did wrong or nothing you can do. It's just very unfortunate timing. And it's not just the Iowa wrestling program. I feel bad for every athletic program in this country. But the wrestling, brotherhood's probably tighter than anything else. And just I know what goes into this sport and how hard, it is. You work so hard, and then to not be allowed to go out and perform or finish, it's just – my heart breaks for these guys. It really, really does. And you try to find the silver lining in it, and you can say all kinds of stuff, and you can kind of pretend to yourself. But at the end of the day, there's a hole in that heart. There really, really is. And it's not just the Iowa program, but it's all these wrestlers. And you take a guy like Pat Lugo, who was a senior last year, and I don't know. What about Spencer Lee would have been Iowa's first 4-timer, and it just you got so many different stories. But I'm really looking forward to watching the guys compete this year. I know that I do get to do the radio and be in Carver Hawkeye Arena for the home meets this year, so I'm super excited. Even though it's going to be a weird feel when you normally have an average of 11 or 12,000 fans in there, you're going to have maybe 300, but at least we're going to get some wrestling in, and I just hope that the season goes without too many glitches and we get to have wins in a NCAA championship.
Amen to that. Here's to having an NCAA championship. Yeah. All in favor?
Let's do it.
Aye. Awesome. Two hands up. All right, Mark. We're down kind of to the end of the line, but it's been a fun and kind of fascinating conversation. Do you have any parting words for us about Iowa, Gable, wrestling in general? Anything you want to say before we let you get going?
Not too much. I don't want to. I get carried away. I start talking too much, So you got to end the show. I get off on tangents and so forth, as you've seen throughout the show. But I just want you guys to know that you guys do a great job. You really do. I love the sport of wrestling. I love Iowa wrestling, and I'm just extremely, extremely happy that we're going to have some wrestling to watch, and that these athletes have an opportunity to go out and perform and finish some unfinished business coming up here in the month of January, February, and March, and fingers crossed everything goes good. So that's about it.
All right, I lied. I got one last question. It's not Iowa related. Jordan Burroughs and David Taylor are wrestling this Saturday night. Can you choose a winner?
I tell you what, David Taylor, it's going to be very interesting. David Taylor is so much bigger and stronger, and the thing is he's in great shape. He moves well. He's so hard to finish. I don't see how Burroughs is going to, and I just don't see how Burroughs, with Taylor staying so low, Burroughs is going to get that double and drive through him on that double. I'm really excited for this match, and I'm excited to see what Burroughs does to get to the legs of Taylor and how he finishes the shots. To pick a winner, I would say that it favors David Taylor, but I'm a huge Burroughs fan, and I would kind of like to see Burroughs win it. I just don't know how he's going to do it against a guy like Taylor right now, but I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table, and he just I mean, look what he did against the Heat. I mean, he always somehow impresses you, and I'm just looking forward to watching this and see the outcome of it.
Yeah, me too. Mark, appreciate the time. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Hope you enjoyed the 300 people in the arena and the rest of the season. So thanks for chatting with us.
All right. Thanks, fellas. Have a great day.
You bet, Mark. Take care. All right. A fun-filled show. The first half started off with the Spartan Combat matches coming up this Friday with Dake wrestling McFadden, Gabe Dean wrestling Mike Macchiavello, and Yianni-Ashnault wrestling Yianni-Diacolus.
I can't wait.
Then we wrapped it up with Mark Ironside. 40 minutes worth of Dan Gable stories.
Getting his perspective on that I recommend it clip was that was perfect. I've wondered so much about his coaching style since seeing that. You just get a glimpse, and then just to hear, that was every day, right? He had that kind of motivation every single day.
On the edge of your seat, whether or not he's talking to me. On the edge of your seat.
I've been in, speeches like that from coaches where I'm on the edge of my seat, but a lot of times where I'm definitely not on the edge of my seat, and you're like, all right, are we still here, coach? What's going on? And just to hear that, when Gable talked, whether it was for 10 minutes or an hour, you're locked in. That was super cool.
Awesome. That's going to do it for today's show. I appreciate y'all watching, hanging out with us. Tomorrow we'll be back with Joey McKenna and Jaden Cox. And, of course, this weekend, Spartan Combat versus Penn RTC, mix of things on Friday. And then Saturday, big event.
Man.
Burroughs versus Taylor, Tamara versus Adeline, and 9 other fantastic matches. So we hope you guys tune in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.